It's been almost a year since I uploaded videos to this channel, and there's a very good reason for that. I got into some beef with some ayahuasca shamans in Colombia, into some tension, some friction, and I'll share everything about it here. What happened, what I learned, and perhaps some guidance so that if you're thinking to drink ayahuasca, you can have more clarity and know what to look for to make sure that you don't end up working with someone that perhaps is not the best option for you. So, in essence, what I realized is that this world, the ayahuasca, the shamanism world, is full of a lot of shadows. And so you may think, of course, Nico, it makes sense. And in fact, it is true. Any place where there are humans and there is power, there's bound to be a lot of shadow. We see it in religion. We see it in the government. We see it in work, just men and sometimes women in positions of power abusing it. Why? I feel it's just the same as, when a child goes into a room and there's some toys, like he wants to test them, he wants to play with them, he wants to see what he can do. So very often us as human beings, when we tap into certain tools that give us a degree of power, of access, of influence, we're bound to misuse them in our own journey of understanding who we are, what we're here to do. Power is not only a sacred plant or a psychedelic experience. Power is not for the shaman only. Power is knowing how to use my voice to influence. Power is knowing how to use my mind, how to get people on my side or against somebody else's side. Power is in my relationships. So let me tell you what happened. And this is a vulnerable share. This is an open conversation that I want to have with you because, like me in the past, you may be at a point in your life where you're seeking for truth, for guidance. You probably look at your life and you see that something needs to change. Maybe you even look around at your circle of friends and you realize that everybody is very asleep, in a lot of pain, very miserable, anxious, depressed, suicidal perhaps, or at least sick, stuck at a job they hate, consumed by money, or some people on the other side of the spectrum, which with such an ugly and difficult relationship towards money that they're consumed by not having it. Both the person that is filthy rich, quote unquote filthy, and the one that is extremely poor, they're on two sides of the same coin. If they're very attached to money, they both have a negative relationship with money. And they both think as much about money as the other one. And they both live with the same amount of lack. So where I'm going with this is that you're probably in a space where you're in this channel because you're looking for guidance. You heard from some friends, from the media, that there is this ayahuasca thing that can help you, and maybe you came across this video or some of my videos and you say, oh, this guy Nicolas, he's answering some of my questions. Let's hear what he has to say. And very often, when we find someone in our path that answers questions, that invites us to think in a different way, we give them power. We start believing what they say. We start outsourcing our own thought process, and we elevate them. We see them as teachers, as mentors, as guides. And there's nothing wrong with this. I just want to make sure that I'm not demonizing oral tradition or the role of teacher, a mentor, a shaman, a guru in the Eastern traditions. However, the big problem that I had with some ayahuasca shamans in Colombia was because I put them in a place where I unconsciously ignored their humanity. What do I mean by this? I assumed that, wow, this man has been drinking medicine for over a decade, for so many years. This other man comes also from a lineage of shamans. This other one is sharing the medicine, and they seem happy, they seem joyful. I had a life-changing experience with both of them. And I'm thinking, if this happened to me just in one night, I wonder what their life is like. If they drink this a couple of times per month and they've done this for decades, it's probably been thousands of times. These men must be so wise. And in truth, there's a lot of wisdom that they carry. And they're also human. And that's where I crashed, because I elevated them to be someone they were not. So when I saw them as real humans, then that idea crashed. Specifically, there were a couple of situations that had me pull away a little bit from inviting people into my retreats, from organizing things, from co-creating with them. And with one of them, it was very simple. And, the mother of all problems, which was money. Long story short, he had a car accident. His car was totaled. He needed to repair it. He called me. He said, "Nico, can I borrow some money? I'll pay you in 2 weeks." And I thought, well, he's an ayahuasca shaman. For sure, he has worth, integrity. He's an indigenous man also that probably doesn't have that many resources. And I'm in a place where I am okay. I didn't have really to spare, because I'm still in a place of transition with my wife and trying to figure many things out. But I figured, let me be a kind gentleman. And under the assumption that, well, this is a shaman. If somebody's gonna keep his word, it's gonna be him. Because I read those Castaneda books where he speaks about the power of word, and I had so many ayahuasca experiences where I understood that what we speak, we create. So these men that have so much power, for sure, their word must be gold. 2 weeks passed, I'm messaging, no answer. A month, 2 months. It's been more than a year. I went to speak with this guy. Like, hey man, like what is going on? It wasn't a small amount of money. And very often I received that silence on the other end, avoidance. Like, we would run into each other at certain places, medicine houses, and like, hi, smile, and pretend that there's nothing happening. And inside I was feeling a bit resentful. And I hated it. I hate it, because when I feel resentment, I know I'm playing victim. I know there's something I'm unwilling to see. And I was quite hurt until I came and I had a conversation with him, and I told him, man, what is this? There's no integrity. You told me 2 weeks. It's been more than a year. Bear in mind, I was not expecting for him to pull out funds from where he didn't have them, even though he did. But at least a conversation like, hey, Nico, I know I said I was going to pay you right now. I'm in a very tense situation. Can we move it to this point in time? To me, that is the sign of somebody who has done their work. Person who has embodied, not only experienced mentally or in their heart and their soul, but embodied, integrated a spiritual experience, spiritual wisdom, is somebody who is a full yes to life. Someone who lives fearlessly. Not someone who is not afraid of a psychedelic experience, not someone who is not afraid of animals and snakes or demons or whatever may come up for shamans in their own trips with the medicine, but someone who is not afraid of a conversation with another human being. Someone who is not afraid of owning their mistakes and saying, fuck man, I am sorry. I am behind. I feel a little bit ashamed that I'm breaking my agreement with you. To me, that's the true measure of someone's growth. Someone that can look at you in the face and say, hey, like, you're not going to like what I have to say, but I'm not going to hide from you. I'm going to give you my face and my words. And I will never break my word. If I cannot fulfill it, if I cannot commit to it, if I cannot deliver on it, I will come to you and say, hey man, I want to be able to keep my promise, but here's my new promise. However, none of this ever happened. And I felt really frustrated and angry because what are they passing on to people? This guy I held in very high regard, and I thought, if he can't get over perhaps his own feelings of shame, of inadequacy, his relationship with money, with lack, if he cannot move past that to come to me and have a man-to-man conversation over money it's not a big deal. It's just money, it's just paper. Then I'm not sure he's in a place to guide other people into places where they really need to see what's going on in their heart. So with this, I started to take some distance, and I thought, maybe these ayahuasca shamans are not what I made them up to be in my head. And then it happened again with another man that I used to work with. And with him, it was very different, but it also struck a nerve. And he was, I used to organize retreats in that land. And in a lot of words, came to me, and he said that many of the things that he saw was doing, many of the medicines or workshops or invitations that I was bringing into the space, which were some of the people that facilitated work for me, some of the yoga practices we were doing. He said, I mean, indirectly, he said, you know what, I think like just ayahuasca is enough. We have no need for any of those other things. Nothing else is needed. We only need to drink medicine, and that's it. What you're doing is too much. And while I value and appreciate how devoted he is and how much trust he has in the plant he serves, I also saw something. Once again, the conversation around this had started around money, around certain facilitators I was bringing in and that I was paying them, and why the money was not going directly into the community I was working with, but instead into some other medicine man or medicine woman from a different tradition. But more than that, what I saw was something that, while I appreciate the dedication and commitment to one path, since I was very little, I understood one thing that for me is as truthful as the sunlight. And it is that anyone who tells you there is only one way towards God, even if their way is one of the ways towards God, but if they tell you that theirs is the only one, that everything else doesn't work or is not as good or not as ideal, or maybe even wrong and unnecessary, may have fallen into fanatism. Fanatism is a very strong word, but at the very least, like religiosity over their tool of choice. And in my spiritual journey, I have learned something, and it's that we should never mistake the tool that we use to seek and find the truth for the truth itself. There was a mystic poet, I forgot who it was, that said, people mistake the finger that is pointing at the moon for the moon, and they stay so fixated in this that they miss what it's pointing at. And ayahuasca transformed my life, and I owe so much of the beauty that I live with, the joy, the peace, the good vibes. I don't know how to describe it. Getting clean of alcohol, recovering from my alcohol and sex addiction, learning to become a man so that I could marry my wife and be a man of integrity. Like, I have profound appreciation for the medicine. And my journey has not been only the medicine. My journey has involved yoga, the teachings of Eastern mystics. It has involved modern science, around nutrition, around psychology, around trauma. My journey has involved modern coaching over a decade of learning from different people that were world class at coaching others, among so many other things. In fact, I tested this. There were groups that I would bring to Colombia where, okay, we go only for 5 days to drink medicine. And then literally 2 weeks later, I'll bring another group for 9 days. But the first 4 days, you're doing work with me. And before that, you're doing 1 or 2 months of preparation work with me. And after that, you're doing another 2 months of integration with me. And I will see, a year later where people were at. And it was very different. How deep people can go, how much they can move from an insight to a tangible lived experience. It's not the same to see God in your visions and angels and all these colors when you're tripping. That's completely useless if you come home and you're angry at your wife, if you're annoyed at your husband, you get frustrated at your kids, you don't know how to have a conversation without losing it, without being reactive. That is useless. Completely useless. What's the point of meeting God if my day-to-day life is hell? What's the point of seeing the heavens if I live like I am deep in hell? So I realized that my own journey and a big part of my healing process has been all the other tools of integration. How drinking medicine sometimes was so overwhelming with my body that I left a little bit traumatized or a little bit disembodied and not knowing what to do. And it was yoga who brought me back into my body and settled my mind and focused it and allowed for my energies to settle and be organized. It was yoga that has taught me to live impeccably, moment by moment, day by day. Of course, the medicine has gotten me out of some mental knots that were very heavy, some karmic tendencies that I was struggling with. But it has been the daily practices that really have, if the medicine, let's say you have a wall, which is your unconsciousness, what you cannot see. On the other side, there is reality, there is truth, there is God, there is enlightenment. And on this side, there is this connection, unconsciousness, the life in the way we see it, the illusion. Plant medicine is like strapping yourself to a rocket and allow you to jump. And for a few hours, you can see what's on the other side of the wall. And you're like, wow, this is not what I thought life was. But as you start to come down, once again, you're faced with a wall right in front of you. This can be devastating for many people if they don't have somebody to hold them through integration. I'm going to share a video in the coming days about that. A couple of friends who told me, like, man, that ayahuasca thing messed my life up. Now, it wasn't ayahuasca, it was more what they did after drinking ayahuasca. So in a coming video, I'm going to share what really not to do if you don't want for your ceremony to lead to travel. Now, you come back and you're faced with a wall. There's an inspiration because now you have seen what is possible. But there's also a bit of frustration because you don't know how to go about it. Yoga is building a ladder where you're building one step at a time. No fireworks most of the time, but you can't fall. The daily practices, the different medicines, different wisdom from my millenary cultures like the Bharat, the Hindu culture. So much wisdom passed on through the years to us to support the development of humans, consciousness of spirituality. And then I find myself in conversations with a shaman that is telling me that all of that is extra. And I'm thinking, you can't build a house with a hammer. Even though a hammer is an amazing tool, only one tool rarely suffices for most people. Or you can go at it, but it's going to take a lot of work. I also realized that my preference and the spiritual teachers that I follow, that I trust, are those who never come and tell you there is only one way. Everything else outside of that is really unnecessary or is not the way. So much chaos, so much violence has been perpetuated between religions because of this way of thinking. I have the truth. I have the way. Nothing else really works or is necessary. Well, every human is a cocktail of experiences, of traumas, of joys, virtues, and flaws. We've had people that they come, they drink a lot of medicine, they vomit 20 times, but it is a conversation at the end which liberates them. Maybe it is a sweat lodge. Maybe it's a hug from my wife in a difficult moment. Maybe it's one sentence, one of the workshops, or the breathwork practice that we lead. On the other hand, there's other people that none of that does anything, but when they drink ayahuasca, that does it for them. And we've also had participants for whom the retreat was amazing. They had a great time, profound journey with friends. But what transformed them was the preparation process that I took them through. They quit drinking after 40, 50 plus years of alcoholism like that. So to reduce human development to a single tool is something that, that didn't land with me. And I felt I was being asked to compromise the integrity of my spiritual teachings, of the containers I was creating, in order to appease the vision of the shaman of that land. As much as I love him, as much as I respect him, as much as I learned from him and his family, and I will forever love them and hold them in high regard, and they took me in when I was going through a rough time, I also feel very clear in my heart that, and I felt very clear in my heart that that was the end of my journey with them, because I was not willing to compromise something that I knew worked, not willing to push aside yoga or the work with other very wise medicine people, not willing to sacrifice that in order to appease to somebody's commitment to his tools. Amazing that he's committed to the tools that he works with, but once we start imposing that or implying that just because you don't use the same tools or just because you have different tools, then that's going to create a lesser experience. When the past proves me the opposite, that it's been a greater experience for everybody, then I'm a very patient man, but that kind of got on my nerves, and I drew a clear line. And I was reflecting on that and thinking, this is not what I want to build. This is not the space I want to invite people into, because it can become a little cultish. It is not. But that's how it starts. Fixation on one way, one path, one method. Instead of coming back to, hey, there's no journey because what you're seeking for is within you. However, there's different tools, and you explore the right combination for you. The right key will open you up. And once you're open up, you will realize that you don't need anything, really. Not to open you up. That's why people come to Colombia, because they can't figure it out on their own. So, and that's why I bring different people to facilitate, to assist. Because we all have different pieces of the puzzle, and we don't know when it's going to click for somebody. Maybe before they come, maybe when they come, maybe afterwards. It may be the medicine, but many times it wasn't that. It wasn't ayahuasca. Sometimes it was nature. It was the land. It was the temple. It was the people. It was the breath, the workshops that we led, the yoga. So just wanted to share this with you because I felt like I ghosted you. And I know many of you messaged me. You've binge watched a lot of my videos, and I apologize. However, I am very, very, very excited because nothing bad happens without something equally or even better happening right after. And this set me on a path where with my wife, we are now in the process of scouting land to open up our own retreat center. We're going to be working directly with our elder, with whom we've never had this kind of clashes, this kind of differences. It's been more with the younger shamans that perhaps that's part of their journey as well, to really go deep into one direction, face their own humanity, their own flaws, their own challenges, and then come back to maybe a bigger understanding of life. Who knows? That's not for me to decide. But we're going to be working with our elder, which was the man with whom I started drinking medicine. And really, like, every time I've drunk with him, it's day and night compared to his students or the younger shamans that I was talking about in this video. So we're excited to be working directly with him because he's a man that so far has been impeccable with his word, responsible, full of integrity. And in every conversation that I've had with him, there's been nothing but respect for other traditions, for the wisdom of our cultures, and even curiosity. Oh, that sounds interesting. Tell me more. Not a fanatic or strong attachment to his tool, even though he comes from a lineage of shamans, but a heart full of openness and curiosity, which are two of the qualities of a teacher worth following or learning from, at least. So that's the gossip. I don't know if you want to call it like that. That's just the update. I'm super excited to be opening up this. We're gonna do our trial run this year in our new space. We have our retreat coming up November 28th to December 7th of 2024. If you're interested, if you want to come and drink medicine and also experience some of my medicine, namely yoga, the word, the connection, coaching, the presence, the workshop that I lead, my wife's medicine, her breath work, and some couple of other sages from different mountains that come to join us. If you want to come and pay, perhaps grab the missing pieces of the puzzle to your journey of growth. In a space free from religiosity or fanaticism, we're not here to preach you about God or about our God or about our tools. We're here to offer you a handful of tools and experiences and a path so that you can mix your own cocktail and lock that which is blocking you from living your best life, and then hopefully move forward and never have to come back and see our faces again. That is my desire, that you fall so deeply in love with yourself and your life and you heal whatever you wanted to heal, that you forget who I am, that maybe in 10 years you're like, oh, I remember that Nicholas guy. Yeah. I drank medicine with him and then I forgot about him because I felt so happy, so in love with life. Got married, or maybe my marriage became so much greater and more beautiful. Life improved in drastically beautiful ways, and grace touched my life. That's what I want. Not a client that comes back because I have the tool or the retreat that they need to solve their problems. No, everything we need is within us. And sometimes the guidance of a teacher, the support of a plant, of a tool, can really, really save us decades of pain and suffering and a very ugly way of living. And at the same time, I feel it is important for us to always be truthful to our hearts. And me being in that truth, I felt that it would have been out of integrity to keep sharing about ayahuasca in this channel while I was questioning the methods, the people I was working with myself. I have profound love for both of those men, and they taught me a lot, and our paths now have split up. And with that, I feel deep clarity, feel deep trust in the journey, and deep integrity with what I'm here to share, and also integrity in inviting people like you to come and share it with me. So that's it. This was a long one, but see it as a reunion. Your good old Colombian friend that you hadn't seen in a while just came back, wanted to say hi, update you with his life, his griefs, his challenges, his frustration, his pain, maybe a little bit of his drama. I am not perfect. I have my own judgments and my own shit to sort out through and my own things to process. With that being said, this is it. Welcome to Ayahuasca, Colombia. Stay tuned for the House of Union, which is going to be the name of my wife's and mine retreat center. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think, if you feel excited, if you learned something from this, you took something away. And once again, if you want to come and drink medicine in Colombia with our elder, man of integrity, a true spiritual teacher, and support us in the creation of this new medicine space, I would love to see you. Thank you for watching. Talk again soon.